The word meditation itself arises from a deep-root meaning to ponder or to attend. The term finds its origins in the Latin meditatio, which was less about emptying the mind and more about a focused process of thinking or devotional reflection, illustrating that the practice has always been a disciplined journey of the inner life, long before it crossed global boundaries. This ancient linguistic vessel carries the intention of deep engagement, suggesting that the stillness we seek is not an absence, but rather an intense, quiet presence within the moment. Even the act of pondering sacred texts or focusing on a simple philosophical concept falls under the vast, ancient umbrella of this word, where the mind is intentionally placed upon an object and held there, like a steady flame in a shelter. This thoughtful attendance to an inner landscape allows the scattered energies of daily worry to coalesce into a single, smooth river of awareness, transforming the noisy chaos of thought into a calm presence. It is the language itself that invites us to slow down, to hold an idea gently in the light of consciousness, and to understand that all deep knowing requires this dedicated gaze. Core Buddhist practice divides the path into the twin pillars of tranquility and insight. These two powerful currents, known as samatha and vipassana, are often described as the wings necessary for flight, both required to ascend into a deeper state of being. Samatha, or calm abiding, is the foundational work, where the mind is gently trained to rest upon a single object, such as the breath, establishing a sense of profound stillness and concentrated awareness. Once this quiet reservoir is filled, the stream of vipassana, or insight, can begin to flow, using that stable foundation to observe the transient, impermanent nature of reality and the self. This dual approach understands that the mind cannot truly see its own workings until it is first calmed, just as the surface of a deep lake must be still before it can clearly reflect the stars. The discipline is not about achieving a blank state, but about seeing the world exactly as it is, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary through the sheer clarity of focused attention, a process that unfolds with grace and patience. Meditation physically alters the default mode network, the brain's constant inner chatterbox. This fascinating neural circuit, often called the DMN, becomes active when the mind is technically at rest, driving the majority of our self-referential thought, future worrying, and past ruminations, the very mechanism responsible for mental drift and distraction. Scientific studies using magnetic resonance imaging have shown that long-term practitioners of meditation exhibit a reduced functional connectivity within the DMN, meaning that the parts of the brain responsible for creating this endless personal narrative are operating with a newfound quietude. This reduction is a profound energetic shift, calming the insistent voice of the ego and allowing a spacious awareness to emerge in its place. The DMN's volume is not simply muted, but its influence over our conscious state is lessened, granting a freedom from the tyranny of unceasing thought. This structural transformation allows the consciousness to witness the flow of the present moment without the constant, distracting commentary of self-judgment or planning. The earliest documented practices of meditation are found within the ancient texts of the Indian subcontinent. Deep echoes of systematic practice can be found within the Vedas, dating back as far as 1500 BCE, though the formalized structure of the inner journey was later crystallized within the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, often dated around 400 CE. Patanjali defined the path through Ashtanga Yoga, which is not merely physical postures, but an 8-limbed ascent, where the 7th limb is dhyana, the state of single-pointed focus or meditation itself. This ancient map of consciousness reveals that physical movement, ethical discipline, and breath control are all necessary, supportive elements that build the unshakable foundation for the mind to finally come to rest. The immense wisdom of this tradition viewed the physical body as a temple and the mind as a powerful wild river that needed gentle guidance, offering methods to train the awareness and unify the scattered self. It is a profound, time-tested knowledge, revealing that the path to stillness has been carefully mapped out by ancient scholars for millennia. Within Zen Buddhism, 2 main lineages, Soto and Rinzai, approach meditation with distinct techniques. The Soto school, often known as the School of Gradual Awakening, emphasizes the magnificent simplicity of shikantaza, which translates to just sitting, where the practitioner engages in silent, choiceless awareness, letting thoughts, feelings, and sensations arise and dissolve without manipulation or judgment. This is the art of simply being, allowing the essential nature of the universe to unfold within the quiet space of the present moment. In contrast, the Rinzai school employs the powerful discipline of the koan, a paradoxical public case or riddle, such as, what is the sound of one hand clapping? The koan acts as a spiritual irritant, designed to push the rational, conceptual mind to its absolute limit, ultimately forcing the practitioner into a sudden, transformative breakthrough of insight, known as satori. These 2 streams of Zen represent 2 different gates to the same destination, one through enduring patience, and the other through explosive, focused inquiry. Transcendental meditation uses personalized mantras to gently anchor the awareness. Emerging from the teachings of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in the mid-20th century, the system offers a streamlined technique designed for modern life, requiring 2 sessions of approximately 20 minutes each day. The core mechanism involves the silent repetition of a specific, non-meaningful sound or mantra, which is considered to carry a subtle, quieting vibrational quality, allowing the mind to settle effortlessly toward its own deepest, most silent state. Unlike some forms of concentration practice, which require great mental effort, TM emphasizes a spontaneous settling of the mind, where the repeated sound acts as a natural magnet for attention, drawing it gently away from surface thoughts and into a profound state of rest and relaxation. This gentle descent into the stillness beneath the mental noise has been widely studied, demonstrating a shift in the body's metabolism and stress hormones, proving that a simple, repeated sound can hold the key to deep, rejuvenating peace. The modern movement of secular mindfulness was largely popularized by mindfulness-based stress reduction. Created by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn in 1979 at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, the program, known as MBSR, was a pioneering effort to bring the core, non-religious principles of Buddhist meditation into the demanding world of Western medicine. The standard course is structured across 8 weeks, guiding participants through formal practices like the body scan and sitting meditation, alongside gentle yoga and informal practices integrated into daily life. This intervention was initially designed to help patients living with chronic pain and disease who were not responding to traditional treatments, transforming the experience of suffering by shifting the relationship to it. It is the power of acceptance and non-judgmental awareness, stripped of cultural ornamentation, that allows the individual to observe difficulty without being consumed by it. MBSR stands as a profound bridge, demonstrating that ancient wisdom can offer measurable, clinical relief to the acute stress of the contemporary human experience. Meditation practice induces measurable shifts in the brain's electrical rhythms, particularly favoring alpha and theta waves. When the mind is in its normal, active, and focused state, the brain produces beta waves, characterized by high frequency and low amplitude, indicative of sensory engagement and problem solving. As a person settles into the meditative state, the brain often begins to produce dominant alpha waves, which are slower and associated with a state of relaxed wakefulness and quiet concentration, similar to the moment just before falling asleep. With deeper, sustained practice, the brain can shift further into the slower, higher amplitude theta wave rhythm, a profound state often linked to deep relaxation, creativity, access to unconscious material, and the transition phase into sleep. This pattern is a neurological signature of inner peace, showing that the practice is not merely subjective, but is a tangible transformation of the mind's operating speed. It is a symphony of electrical pulses, slowing down the tempo of consciousness to find a deeper harmony. Long-term meditation has been shown to decrease the density of grey matter in the amygdala, the brain's central alarm bell. The amygdala is an almond-shaped structure deep within the temporal lobe, acting as the primary hub for processing emotions, especially fear and threat, triggering the urgent fight or flight response that kept our ancestors safe. Scientific investigation has revealed that experienced meditators exhibit a structural change in this area, showing a lower density of grey matter, which correlates to a reduced reactivity to stressors and emotional turmoil. This is not a diminishment of feeling, but a re-engineering of the emotional response system, moving the individual away from immediate, reactive panic and toward a more measured, reflective pause. Simultaneously, there is often a corresponding increase in grey matter density within the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for higher order thinking and emotional regulation, thus strengthening the calm, executive control over the ancient fear circuitry. The physical architecture of fear is gracefully remodeled by the steady power of stillness. The calming effect of breath-focused meditation is partially mediated by stimulating the vagus nerve. This single, wandering conduit, the 10th cranial nerve, is the longest nerve in the autonomic nervous system, acting as a majestic communication highway that connects the brainstem to most of the vital organs, including the heart, lungs, and digestive tract. When we engage in slow, deliberate, deep belly breathing, a cornerstone of many meditative traditions, we are effectively sending a calming signal through the vagus nerve to the rest of the body. This stimulation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest system, which elegantly counteracts the stress response of the sympathetic nervous system. The improved ability of the vagus nerve to respond efficiently is known as increased vagal tone, and a higher tone correlates strongly with better mood regulation, reduced inflammation, and a powerful inner resilience against stress. Simply by slowing the gentle rhythm of air entering and leaving the body, we are commanding a profound internal harmony. The Pali word for mindfulness, sati, originally carried the deep connotation of to remember or to recollect. This ancient, quiet term from the Pali Canon, the foundational scriptural collection of Theravada Buddhism, beautifully reveals that mindfulness is not merely about noticing the present, but about remembering to notice the present, holding it tenderly in awareness. The scattered nature of the ordinary mind allows us to forget the majestic reality of the moment, drifting into past regret or future anxiety. The discipline of sati is the conscious, repeated commitment to bring the attention back to the breath, the sound, or the sensation, thus recollecting the very ground of being. This act of remembering is a gentle refusal to be swept away by the river of conceptual thought, establishing an anchor in immediate experience. It is a profound recognition that true life is found not in memory or anticipation, but in the luminous presence of this very breath, a steadfast act of internal fidelity to the self. Loving-kindness meditation, or metta in the Pali language, is a deliberate cultivation of warm, benevolent feelings toward all beings. This practice stands as a profound, gentle antidote to the often harsh inner critic and the pervasive, subtle presence of fear and hostility in the world, shifting the internal landscape toward radical acceptance. The method is structured in a series of quiet phases, beginning with directing wishes of peace and well-being toward oneself, acknowledging the fundamental need for self-compassion. The circle of warmth then gradually expands outward, moving to loved ones, then to those for whom one feels neutral, and most powerfully, extending these wishes toward people who present genuine difficulty or challenge. The final sweeping stage embraces all living creatures without exception, dissolving the boundaries that separate the self from the vast, shared ocean of consciousness. This meditative practice is a forge where the gentle emotion of kindness is hardened into an unshakable inner strength, replacing judgment with an enduring, spacious goodwill. All forms of focused meditation work by training the attentional muscles in a two-step process, focusing and returning. The first step involves gently placing the awareness upon the chosen object, such as the rhythmic sensation of the breath at the nostrils or internal mantra, establishing a deliberate and clear anchor in the present moment. Inevitably, the river of thought will assert itself, and the mind will drift away into planning, memory, or imaginative wanderings, often without conscious realization. The critical second step, and the actual powerful workout of the mind, is the moment of realizing the distraction and, without any judgment or self-recrimination, gently yet firmly returning the attention back to the anchor. This moment of soft recognition and non-judgmental redirection builds the essential neural pathways for self-regulation and focus. The mental journey is not about eliminating distraction, which is a natural function of the brain, but about strengthening the quiet power of choice, the ability to decide where the light of consciousness will rest again and again, with boundless patience. The classical stages of deep meditative experience ascend from dhyana, single-pointed concentration, to samadhi, a state of absorption. Dhyana, the seventh limb of Patanjali's eight-limbed path, is the sustained effort of keeping the mind's focus fixed upon a single point without interruption, like a steady stream of oil being poured. In this powerful state, the mind is utterly absorbed, but the distinction between the meditator and the object of meditation is still subtly maintained, requiring a gentle, consistent effort. As this effort dissolves, the practice ripens into samadhi, the final limb, a state of profound, non-dualistic absorption, where the subject and the object of meditation merge into a single, seamless, and effortless unity. The ordinary sense of separate self briefly dissolves into a boundless, quiet awareness, achieving a majestic and transformative inner rest. This is the culmination of the dedicated practice, where concentration transcends its own need for control and flowers into a deep, pervasive state of spiritual unification. The physical posture, or asana, is foundational to meditation because the stillness of the body supports the stillness of the mind. In most traditions, the ideal meditation pose involves a stable seated position with a quiet dignity, ensuring the back is held upright and the spine is gently erect, though not stiffly rigid, establishing a subtle yet powerful vertical alignment. This precise structural arrangement minimizes the physical effort required to maintain the pose, freeing the body from unnecessary distraction and allowing the mind's energy to settle inward. Furthermore, the straight spine is symbolically and practically understood to facilitate the subtle flow of vital energy, or prana, fostering a heightened state of alert wakefulness within the profound physical rest. By committing to an unmoving posture for the duration of the practice, the practitioner is also making a declaration of intent, teaching the restless body that a deeper calm is possible. The commitment to external stillness becomes the vessel for internal transformation. The earliest evidence of systematic meditative techniques predates the advent of Buddhism by hundreds of years. These foundational practices are woven deeply into the fabric of the Upanishads, which are philosophical texts embedded within the ancient Vedas, estimated to have been composed as early as 1000 BCE. The texts describe methods for controlling the breath and sense organs, with a central focus on realizing the ultimate identity of the individual soul, or Atman, with the universal spirit, or Brahman. While these early techniques lack the detailed methodology of the later Buddhist and Patanjali systems, they establish the foundational principle that profound self-knowledge is achieved not through external action, but through an internal, disciplined gaze. This chronological perspective reveals that the quest for enlightenment is a vast, ancient river of human endeavor, with currents flowing from the very dawn of written philosophy. The wisdom of stillness has been an enduring treasure of the inner world for at least 3 millennia. The indigenous Tibetan spiritual tradition known as Bon has its own unique ancient forms of meditation practice, existing as the dominant religious framework in Tibet before the arrival of Buddhism in the 7th century. Bon developed complex, majestic systems of inner work that parallel many later practices, showing the spontaneous human discovery of inner truth across different cultural landscapes. A central practice involves detailed visualization of divine forms and mandalas, using the focused power of imagination to transform and purify the mind's ordinary experience. Furthermore, Bon emphasizes practices related to the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space, allowing the practitioner to gently reconnect the subtle body with the foundational elements of the universe. Like many other Tibetan traditions, it includes the profound, advanced practice of Dzogchen, or Great Perfection, which seeks to lead the awareness directly to its naturally spacious and luminous state. These enduring meditations reveal a powerful lineage of wisdom that has persevered through centuries of profound cultural transformation. Meditation and contemplation practices exist deeply within the Abrahamic traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Within Christianity, the magnificent practice of hesychasm, particularly in Eastern Orthodoxy, focuses on the repetitive, quiet chanting of the Jesus prayer, using the rhythm of the words and the breath to achieve a profound, single-pointed concentration known as nepsis. In Islam, the Sufi mystical path employs zikr, the rhythmic repetition of the names of God or short devotional phrases, often accompanied by specific body movements to induce an altered state of spiritual absorption. The ancient Jewish tradition of Kabbalistic meditation utilized various techniques, including the focused visualization of the Sephirot, the 10 attributes of God, and the ecstatic repetition of divine names to access deeper, mystical layers of reality. These contemplative practices, though framed within different theological narratives, all share the universal impulse to transcend the ordinary world of the senses and find union with the divine through disciplined, inward-focused attention. The Anapanasati Sutta is the Buddha's foundational teaching on the quiet practice of mindfulness of breathing. This discourse, contained within the ancient Pali Canon, outlines a systematic 4-part path of 16 steps that uses the breath as the primary object of focus, illustrating the power that can be found in the simplest of actions. The first 4 steps involve simply knowing the long or short nature of the breath, learning to feel the entire body in the flow of the breath, and calming the bodily formations, establishing a foundational stability of awareness. The subsequent tetrads then gradually expand the awareness, moving from the physical sensation into the observation of feelings, then of the mind itself, and finally, of deep psychological phenomena. This teaching reveals that the gentle, rhythmic act of breathing is a complete and perfect vehicle for achieving the full, profound scope of meditative insight. It is a quiet, reliable guide, always present and perfectly suited to carry the mind into states of deeper peace and understanding. Some early research suggests that consistent meditation practice may support the maintenance of telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of DNA strands. Telomeres act as the quiet guardians of our genetic material, preventing chromosomes from fraying or fusing together, and their gradual shortening is a recognized marker of cellular aging, often accelerated by chronic stress and inflammation. Preliminary studies, especially in intensive retreat settings, hint that meditative techniques might gently influence the activity of telomerase, the enzyme that helps rebuild and protect these caps, though the science is still evolving and not yet conclusive. By steadily reducing the flood of stress hormones and calming the inner environment, meditation appears to create more favorable conditions for the body's own repair processes to operate. Even if the exact mechanisms are still being explored, this line of research suggests that inner stillness may reach all the way down to the subtle biology of aging itself. Significant, measurable psychological and physiological changes often emerge after about 8 weeks of consistent daily practice. While even a single quiet sitting can induce an immediate sense of calm and relief, the deeper, more profound structural changes in the brain and the lasting regulation of the body's stress response require an enduring commitment of time. Many seminal studies, including those on mindfulness-based stress reduction, utilize this period of roughly 8 weeks, or around 56 days, as the standard minimum exposure needed to observe substantial alterations in cortisol levels and gray matter density. It is the steady accumulation of these daily acts of returning to the present moment, much like the slow, persistent sculpting of a river over stone, that yields the most majestic transformations. This necessary duration reassures us that the benefits of meditation are not fleeting or instantaneous, but rather the reliable result of patient cultivation. The mind requires time to gently dismantle its ancient, entrenched habits of reactivity and embrace the steady rhythm of peace. Meditation increases the thickness of gray matter in key areas related to attention and sensory processing. Magnetic resonance imaging has revealed that individuals who maintain a long-term practice exhibit increased cortical thickness in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's magnificent center for higher-order function, emotional regulation, and cognitive control. This anatomical strengthening provides a more resilient capacity to manage complex emotions and remain focused despite external pressures. Even more fascinating is the thickening observed in the insula, a deep-seated structure that integrates physical sensations and feelings, which is crucial for interoception or self-awareness. This structural remodeling suggests that meditators don't just feel calmer. Their brains are physically organized to be more keenly aware of internal states, while simultaneously maintaining superior executive control over their reactions. It is a quiet, architectural masterpiece unfolding within the skull, where the constant practice of stillness builds a more spacious and robust home for consciousness. A key benefit of mindfulness practice is the profound cultivation of interoception, the quiet sensing of internal bodily states. Interoception is the subtle, majestic ability to accurately perceive signals arising from within the body, such as the steady rhythm of the heartbeat, the nuanced tension in the muscles, or the deep, flowing signals from the digestive system. In daily life, these signals often remain unconscious, contributing to vague feelings of anxiety or discomfort. But meditative practices like the body scan deliberately bring this quiet, hidden landscape into the light of awareness. By becoming exquisitely attuned to these internal cues, the practitioner gains a powerful early warning system for emotional reactivity, able to notice the faint beginnings of stress before it erupts into overwhelming anxiety. This heightened internal self-awareness grants the power to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly, transforming the body from an unconscious trigger of stress into a magnificent, reliable compass for well-being. Meditative styles are broadly categorized into focused attention and open monitoring practices, each training a different type of mental muscle. Focused attention, FA disciplines, such as concentrating on the breath or a mantra, are majestic acts of concentration, requiring the mind to repeatedly anchor itself to a single, chosen object, building robust neural pathways for sustained focus. This is the initial quiet work of stabilizing the restless, wandering mind. Open monitoring, OM, conversely, is a spacious, choiceless awareness, where the practitioner remains receptive to all sensations, thoughts, and sounds that enter consciousness, observing them without judgment or attachment. Like a vast, calm ocean, observing the waves on its surface. While FA develops the power of samatha or calm abiding, OM encourages vipassana or penetrating insight into the nature of impermanence and reality. These two powerful approaches are often practiced sequentially or in concert, illustrating that the path to stillness requires both the strength of concentration and the majestic spaciousness of acceptance. The ancient Buddhist scriptures detail 8 progressive, profound states of deep absorption known as the jhanas. These majestic stages of meditative attainment, or jhana in Sanskrit, are reached through intense, dedicated concentration and the systematic refinement of attention. The first 4 form jhanas begin with the transcendence of hindrances, leading to states characterized by intense rapture, piti, and a profound, stable joy, sukha, where the ordinary world is momentarily eclipsed by blissful internal immersion. As the practice deepens, the mind gracefully sheds the grosser emotional qualities, moving into the subtle, formless jhanas, which are characterized by pure, serene equanimity and a non-conceptual, single-pointed awareness that is beyond the reach of ordinary thought. The path through the jhanas is an internal ascent, revealing the sheer, majestic capacity of the mind to generate deep tranquility and profound understanding simply by withdrawing the senses and refining its focus with careful, patient dedication. Meditation is an effective, non-pharmacological tool for managing chronic pain by separating the sensation from the suffering. The wisdom of mindfulness recognizes that pain is composed of two distinct parts: the pure physical sensation and the mental reaction to that sensation, the fear, the resistance, and the catastrophic narrative surrounding it. By systematically training the attention to observe the physical feelings without judgment, practitioners can effectively interrupt the automatic feedback loop that amplifies the experience of pain. This process aligns beautifully with the principles of the gate control theory, suggesting the mind can consciously or unconsciously modulate the intensity of pain signals reaching the brain. Through meditation, the attentional resources are shifted away from the mental elaboration of discomfort, transforming the raw sensation from a catastrophic threat into a neutral object of majestic observation. This shift does not eliminate the physical signal, but it quiets the emotional volume, granting a profound sense of psychological spaciousness and resilience, even in the presence of physical difficulty. The human mind spends nearly 47% of its waking life engaged in mind wandering, drifting away from the present moment. A powerful study conducted by Harvard University confirmed this astonishing statistic, revealing that the average person's mind is not focused on the current task or environment almost half the time, a fraction amounting to many hours, or roughly 7 hours out of a 15-hour day of wakefulness. Importantly, this mental wandering was strongly correlated with a reduction in happiness, suggesting that a mind constantly lost in its own past regrets or future anxieties is inherently less content. Meditation directly addresses this tendency by making the wandering process conscious and gentle. Each time the attention is noticed to have drifted and is softly returned to the breath, the mind is being retrained to resist this powerful urge to escape the present moment. The practice quietens the internal noise, allowing the reality of the here and now to shine through its own luminosity, promoting a steady contentment. Meditation helps regulate the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the central control system of the body's stress response. The HPA axis is the powerful chain of command that determines how the body perceives and responds to threat, culminating in the release of the primary stress hormone, cortisol, which mobilizes energy for survival. When chronic stress is present, the HPA axis can become chronically overactive, leading to elevated basal cortisol levels that damage health. Consistent meditative practice acts as a gentle yet firm, calming agent for this axis, reducing the habitual overproduction of cortisol and improving the negative feedback loop that signals the system to turn off. By quietly introducing moments of profound rest and safety, meditation teaches the ancient circuitry of the brain and body that the immediate danger has passed. This profound rebalancing of the internal environment transforms stress from a constant roar into a manageable whisper, allowing the body to return gracefully to a state of homeostasis. Kundalini Yoga employs specific, powerful meditations known as kriyas to awaken and guide subtle life energy. Rooted in the ancient wisdom of India, this tradition views the human body as containing a coiled, dormant spiritual power known as Kundalini, often visualized as a magnificent serpent resting at the base of the spine. The meditative kriyas utilize a precise, systematic combination of breathing techniques, pranayama, energetic locks, bandhas, hand gestures, mudras, and chanting mantra to stimulate this energy and draw it upward through the central energetic channel, the Sushumna Nadi, traversing the chakras or energy centers. The goal is a transformative, majestic release of consciousness, moving the practitioner beyond ordinary states of awareness. While the practice is often physically demanding and intensely focused, the underlying principle is the quiet, disciplined direction of internal energy toward a higher, unified state of being, requiring a dedicated and patient submission to the specific form of the practice. Centering prayer is a distinct, contemporary Christian meditation practice, rooted in ancient contemplative traditions. Developed in the 1970s by Trappist monks, this method draws heavily upon the wisdom of the Desert Fathers and texts like The Cloud of Unknowing, seeking to create a space for communion with the divine beyond the ordinary verbal thoughts. The practice involves choosing a simple, single, sacred word, not as a meaningless mantra, but as a gentle symbol of intention to consent to the presence and action of God. This word is softly returned to whenever the mind wanders, quietly releasing attachment to the stream of thoughts and images. The intention is to transcend conversation and move into internal silence, establishing a deep, receptive rest in which the divine presence can be experienced directly. It is a deliberate act of letting go, transforming mental effort into a quiet, profound receptivity, honoring the ancient realization that stillness is the most perfect language for spiritual unity. The overarching concept for meditation in many Eastern traditions is bhavana, meaning the systematic cultivation or development of the mind. This beautiful Sanskrit term emphasizes that meditation is not a passive activity of merely relaxing, but an active, careful process of mental growth, often translated as making happen or bringing into existence. Just as a skilled gardener tends to a quiet, fertile plot, carefully removing weeds and nourishing healthy seeds, the practitioner engages in bhavana to systematically weaken unwholesome states like anger and craving, while simultaneously strengthening wholesome qualities like compassion, concentration, and insight. The mind is viewed as a dynamic ecosystem, capable of profound transformation through disciplined care and attention. This perspective reframes the daily meditation period as a session of intentional, quiet maintenance, where the focus is not on struggle, but on the enduring, patient, and successful labor of self-cultivation. The fruits of this steady internal work are clarity and profound tranquility, ripening with the passage of time. Many Tibetan and Hindu traditions utilize the mandala, a complex circular geometric diagram, as an object for visualization and concentration. The word mandala itself often translates to circle or center, and these intricate patterned designs serve as highly organized, symbolic maps of the cosmos or a sacred dwelling place, usually the palace of a deity. The practitioner engages in a quiet, dedicated form of meditation by intensely visualizing the mandala, often beginning with the external, complex geometric perimeter and meticulously moving the focus inward toward the brilliant sacred center. This practice trains the mind in exquisite detail and concentration, transforming the scattered thought process into a single, cohesive beam of attention. Furthermore, The visualization of the journey into the center symbolizes the inner spiritual pilgrimage toward the core of the self, where unity and enlightenment reside. The mandala is a quiet, powerful key, opening the magnificent architecture of the universe within the precise geometry of the image. The fundamental importance of intention, or satana, ensures that meditation is not just mechanical, but a moral and purposeful act. In Buddhist philosophy, satana is the volitional factor, the mental impulse that precedes and directs all action of body, speech, and mind, making it the most critical element that shapes future experience, or karma. When one chooses to sit quietly and cultivate awareness, the intention is not merely to relax, but to create a positive, wholesome root of non-reactivity and insight. This deliberate choice to dedicate a period of time, perhaps 30 minutes, or approximately half an hour, to stillness is an act of profound self-respect and powerful moral redirection. The clarity of intention acts as a lighthouse, guiding the vessel of the mind through the waters of distraction and ensuring that the practice is rooted in a sincere wish for liberation and peace. Rather than simply escaping difficulty, it is the dedication of the will that determines the profound direction of the journey. Meditation harnesses the principle of neuroplasticity, the brain's enduring ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. This profound biological mechanism reveals that the brain is not a static organ, but a dynamic, adaptable landscape constantly being shaped by experience. Following the principle that neurons that fire together wire together. Every time the meditator notices that the mind has drifted and gently, non-judgmentally guides it back to the breath, a new neural pathway favoring concentration and non-reactivity is quietly strengthened. Repeated redirection weakens the old reactive circuits and reinforces the new resilient ones. Over time, this consistent effort leads to the structural changes seen in the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, showing that attention is the magnificent sculptor of the brain's architecture. The practice is, in essence, a focused and repeated act of creation, building a calmer, more integrated mind through the simple, persistent application of focused awareness. Advanced meditative states often lead to the experience of non-duality, where the ordinary separation between subject and object temporarily dissolves. In our everyday experience, consciousness operates dualistically. There is the observer, the self, and the observed, the world, the thought, the feeling. The non-dual experience is a majestic realization that this separation is conceptual rather than fundamental, leading to a profound sense of unity and boundless awareness. This experience is often associated with the highest states of absorption, such as samadhi or satori, where the personal self or ego recedes, leaving behind a spacious, unified field of consciousness. The practice of simply resting in awareness, without defining or attaching to the content of consciousness, gradually cultivates the conditions for this majestic merging. It is a homecoming to the understanding that the inner observer is fundamentally seamless with the vast, interconnected flow of the entire universe, finding peace in that ultimate, non-separate reality. The quiet act of observing a thought or emotion without engaging in it creates a critical, calming distance known as the observer effect. When thoughts or strong emotions like anxiety arise, our ordinary mind often fuses with them, leading to the assumption that I am this feeling or I am this thought. The majestic discipline of mindfulness involves stepping back and recognizing the mental content as an object external to the core self, transforming it from a tyrannical internal command into a mere passing event. By simply labeling the phenomenon, there is planning, or this is anger, the practitioner disrupts the automatic, reactive chain of thought and weakens the emotional grip of the mental narrative. This separation is the quiet, magnificent realization that one is the awareness in which the thought arises, not the thought itself. This simple, elegant distance grants the power of non-reaction, allowing the feeling to dissipate gracefully without fueling its energy or drama. Theravada Buddhism utilizes 40 classical meditation subjects, or kammatthana, tailored to address specific temperaments and mental habits. This extensive, systematic categorization, laid out in ancient texts like the Visuddhimagga, reveals a deep psychological understanding of the human mind, recognizing that a single object of focus will not suit every person. The kammatthana include a majestic range of subjects, such as the 10 kasinas, meditations using colored discs, light, or space, to develop intense concentration. For someone plagued by intense desire, the practice might focus on the contemplation of a corpse to foster a quiet realization of impermanence and the body's transient nature. Conversely, for a person struggling with anger, the subject is often loving kindness, metta, actively cultivating compassion. This careful selection ensures that the chosen subject is the perfect mirror for the practitioner, gently guiding the mind toward balance and profound internal harmony. Walking meditation, known as kankama in Pali, transforms the ordinary movement of the body into a focused, deliberate act of awareness. This quiet, mobile practice is often performed along a short, straight path, usually about 30 to 50 feet long, or around 9 to 15 meters, requiring the practitioner to turn and return gently without interruption. The attention is anchored entirely in the tactile sensations of the feet. The lifting, moving, and placing of each step is broken down into slow, deliberate components, transforming the mundane act of walking into a majestic study of transient physical existence. The slower pace is a quiet invitation to consciousness, providing a constant, stable sensory object, which can be easier for some minds to hold than a purely static breath. It is a powerful method for bringing meditative continuity into activity, recognizing that the deep, still center is not lost when the body moves, but can be found even in the graceful, quiet rhythm of deliberate steps. The context of all Buddhist meditation is the understanding offered by the Four Noble Truths, a foundation of profound wisdom. The first truth is the acknowledgement of suffering or dissatisfaction, dukkha, the inherent unease of conditioned existence. The second truth reveals the origin of suffering to be attachment and craving. The third truth states that the cessation of suffering is possible by letting go of these attachments. Finally, the fourth truth offers the Eightfold Path as the practical method to achieve cessation. Meditation, specifically samatha and vipassana, is situated directly within this path, encompassing right mindfulness and right concentration. The practice is thus not a casual self-help technique, but a technology of liberation, systematically dismantling the craving that binds the mind to perpetual dissatisfaction. It is the practical, enduring wisdom that provides the precise internal tools necessary to walk the quiet road toward true, unshakable peace. Meditation, by calming the racing mind and regulating the nervous system, is a potent, natural remedy for the difficulty of sleep onset. Insomnia is often perpetuated by a hyper-aroused state, where the mind is locked in a cycle of worry, planning, and regret, preventing the necessary shift from active beta waves to the slower alpha and theta states required for sleep. Daily meditation practice systematically reduces this mental rumination, teaching the individual to observe thoughts and let them pass, rather than engaging in the energetic mental debate that keeps the conscious mind awake. When practiced near bedtime, techniques like the body scan or focused breathing act as a powerful, quiet transition, sending signals of safety through the vagus nerve and gently lowering the heart rate and metabolism. This internal quietude allows the vigilant part of the brain to finally surrender its guard. The quiet discipline of the practice becomes the gentle key to unlocking the gates of deep restorative rest. Sustained focus during meditation relies heavily on the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the brain region governing executive function. This control center, located at the front of the brain, is fundamentally responsible for holding information in working memory and suppressing tempting distractions, acting as the ultimate patient manager of attention. When the meditator notices the mind has wandered and deliberately brings it back to the breath, this very act of cognitive control powerfully engages and strengthens the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This repeated internal exercise builds a more robust capacity to maintain focus, not just on the cushion, but throughout the complexities of daily life, transforming the mind from a reactive servant into a steady, reliable instrument. The continuous quiet commitment to redirection over time remodels this crucial structure, allowing the consciousness to remain anchored in the present moment with greater effortless precision. It is the realization that the disciplined will has a tangible, physical signature within the architecture of the mind. The breath serves as a universal, non-conceptual anchor for meditation because it is always present and perfectly neutral. Unlike a difficult memory, an interesting sound, or a captivating visualization, the simple in and out flow of air lacks inherent drama, providing a stable, utterly reliable sensory object upon which the restless mind can settle. The breath is in its constancy, existing on the quiet threshold between the conscious and unconscious realms. It can be deliberately controlled, yet it manages itself automatically, sustaining life without effort. By focusing gently on the breath, perhaps the subtle sensation at the nostrils or the quiet rise and fall of the abdomen, the meditator subtly begins to regulate the autonomic nervous system, transitioning the body from a state of anxious vigilance into deep, receptive rest. This natural rhythmic cycle is a readily available, quiet doorway into the present moment, always offering safe passage away from the complexity of thought and into the profound simplicity of being. Meditation, particularly loving-kindness practice, can measurably decrease feelings of loneliness and increase social connectedness. Loneliness is often rooted not just in a lack of contact, but in a profound feeling of being separate from others, a feeling sometimes accompanied by fear, self-criticism, and vulnerability. The practice of metta works by systematically dissolving these perceived barriers, starting with the quiet extension of goodwill toward the self, thus creating an internal safe harbor of acceptance. As the circle of care expands to encompass neutral and difficult people, the practitioner trains the heart to feel an inherent, shared humanity that transcends personal narratives. Studies have shown that this cultivation of positive emotion improves one's sense of belonging and social efficacy. By generating warm, benevolent feelings internally, The mind projects a quiet, welcoming presence outward, fundamentally changing the perceived separation between self and world into an awareness of boundless, gentle connection. Mindfulness is distinct from concentration in that mindfulness is about awareness, while concentration is about focus. Concentration is a magnificent, quiet, vertical power, akin to a laser beam aimed intently at a single point, striving for mental stability and the exclusion of distractions. Its goal is sustained, unwavering attention on a chosen object, leading toward deep absorption states. Mindfulness, conversely, is a spacious, gentle, horizontal power, operating as a broad, panoramic awareness that holds all present experience, thoughts, feelings, and sensations in a non-judgmental, accepting regard, like a clear sky accommodating all clouds. While concentration creates stability, samatha, mindfulness provides penetrating insight, vipassana, ensuring the meditator remains connected to the ever-changing reality of the moment. Both qualities are necessary for the path, working together like two eyes. Concentration holds the object steady, while mindfulness watches the subtle qualities of that stillness. Patanjali defined the integrated culmination of the meditative journey as samyama, the union of concentration, meditation, and absorption. This majestic Sanskrit term describes the simultaneous, quiet application of the final three limbs of Ashtanga Yoga: dharana, or focused attention; dhyana, or sustained meditation; and samadhi, the deep state of absorption. In ordinary practice, these stages are experienced sequentially and often with noticeable effort, but in the ultimate realization of samyama, the three functions merge into a seamless, unified, and spontaneous flow of awareness. The consciousness effortlessly remains anchored to its object without wavering, and the observation of that object unfolds into profound, comprehensive insight. This quiet, integrated state is described as the master key to unlocking the true power of the mind, allowing the practitioner to gain wisdom about any object upon which samyama is applied. It represents the majestic peak of the yogic path, where effort transforms into effortless, profound knowing. Meditation practice is linked to increased levels of GABA, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid, acts as a quiet brake, elegantly slowing down the relentless firing of excitatory neurons in the brain, thereby counteracting feelings of anxiety, overstimulation, and mental noise. Low levels of GABA are often associated with anxiety and mood disorders, leaving the mind perpetually restless and vigilant. Studies involving long-term meditators and even novices, after a short period of intense practice, have shown a measurable increase in the concentrations of GABA in the brain. This neurochemical shift explains the profound subjective experience of calm and mental clarity reported by practitioners, proving that the quiet mental discipline translates into a tangible soothing of the central nervous system. The practice, therefore, is not simply a philosophical exercise, but a precise biological mechanism for restoring the body's magnificent capacity for deep, endogenous peace. The Tibetan Buddhist practice of Tonglen is a profound, advanced meditation focused on compassionately taking in suffering and sending out relief. This discipline is an exercise in radical empathy and altruism, where the practitioner mentally visualizes breathing in the dense, dark atmosphere of all the world's pain, fear, and negativity. On the subsequent out-breath, The practitioner visualizes breathing out a cool, clear, luminous light, symbolizing peace, healing, and well-being, directed toward the suffering object, whether it is a single individual or all sentient beings. This practice fundamentally transforms the emotional response to suffering, changing fear into powerful compassion. It is a quiet, profound act of courageous spiritual imagination, turning the intense concepts of pain and fear into abstract vessels for energetic exchange, actively engaging with the difficult nature of existence without being overwhelmed by it. The breath becomes the gentle vehicle for universal, boundless generosity. Simple techniques like counting the breath are often used as an initial concentration aid, establishing a gentle rhythm for the mind. For beginners, or when the mind is particularly agitated, the rhythmic process of counting the inhalations or exhalations provides a necessary bridge between the chaotic thought stream and the subtle object of the breath. The meditator may count each exhalation up to 10, or around 200 to 300 breaths in a typical 30-minute sitting, and then restart the counting cycle, ensuring the mind has a precise, short-term goal to focus upon. This technique prevents the mind from wandering too far afield, training it in the quiet patience required for single-pointed focus. Once the mind achieves a measure of stability and can rest effortlessly on the sensation of the breath alone, the count is gracefully released, no longer needed as a conceptual crutch. It is a majestic, quiet scaffolding that teaches the attention how to stand tall on its own foundation. In certain traditions, the goal of meditation is the realization of the witness consciousness, often called turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. This majestic concept, central to the Mandukya Upanishad, describes a state of pure, non-dual, underlying awareness that is perpetually present, but remains untouched by the content of the three ordinary states of consciousness. The witness is the quiet, luminous backdrop against which all thoughts, feelings, and experiences play out, remaining a non-involved observer, perfectly peaceful and complete. By sitting in meditation and consistently detaching from the thoughts that arise, neither clinging to them nor pushing them away, the mind gradually settles into this fourth majestic state. In turiya, the tyranny of the ego dissolves into a vast, spacious quietude. The dedicated practice is the gentle, systematic effort of peeling away the layers of transient experience to discover the enduring, ultimate observer that waits patiently within. The essential core of mindfulness meditation is the cultivation of a non-judgmental attitude toward all inner and outer experience. The ordinary human mind is a constant, subtle source of evaluation, relentlessly labeling experience as good or bad, desirable or undesirable. And this constant, majestic stream of judgment creates the fertile ground for stress and suffering. When a difficult emotion like impatience arises in meditation, the judgment, "I shouldn't feel this way," is the secondary reaction that fuels the primary discomfort. The practice gently asks the practitioner to simply notice the presence of the phenomenon without commentary, observing it like a scientist. This acceptance is not passive resignation, but an active, powerful engagement with reality as it is, without the distortion of preference. By withholding the reflexive judgment, the meditator disrupts the cycle of self-criticism and grants the emotion the spacious quietude needed to gracefully dissipate on its own. Meditation often incorporates specific hand gestures, or mudras, to subtly influence the flow of energy and concentration. These quiet, dignified physical arrangements of the hands and fingers are believed to create specific circuits of energy within the body, redirecting the vital force or prana, and establishing a powerful, calm grounding. The most common gesture used in sitting meditation is the Jnana Mudra, or Chin Mudra, where the tip of the thumb and the index finger gently touch, forming a quiet circle. The thumb traditionally symbolizes the ultimate reality, and the index finger symbolizes individual consciousness, meaning the joining of the two represents the majestic union of the individual self with the universal spirit. The subtle pressure and stillness of the hands throughout the practice provide a quiet, physical anchor, aiding the mind in its quest for single-pointed focus and establishing a consistent physical intention of inwardness and profound unity. The Sufi whirling dervishes engage in a form of active meditation called sema, relying on rhythmic movement for spiritual transformation. This magnificent, quiet ceremony of the Mevlevi order is a physical prayer, where the dervishes turn steadily and gracefully in counterclockwise circles, symbolizing the planets revolving around the sun and the soul revolving around the divine. The right palm faces skyward, receiving God's grace, while the left palm faces the earth, channeling that energy gently into the world. Though the body is in constant motion, the inner state of the dervish is meant to achieve a profound, quiet center of absolute stillness and concentration, focusing on the rhythmic chant and the transcendent inner vision. This movement is a majestic, deliberate paradox. Through the dizzying motion, the ego is transformed and quieted, allowing the practitioner to dissolve the ordinary self and access a powerful, transcendent unity with the eternal. Consistent mindfulness practice has been demonstrated to significantly improve a person's working memory capacity. Working memory is the system responsible for temporarily holding and manipulating the information required to complete complex cognitive tasks, essentially the mental workspace where we reason and make decisions. This capacity is often limited by mental clutter and intrusive thoughts, which drain the necessary attentional resources. By training the mind to focus and gently disregard irrelevant internal and external stimuli, meditation enhances the brain's ability to allocate its resources more efficiently. The practice acts as a systematic cleaner, sweeping away the mental debris of worry and distraction, thereby freeing up more space for the mind to process essential information. This cognitive enhancement, confirmed by various studies, reveals that the discipline of focus not only calms the spirit, but also majestically refines the fundamental operational efficiency of the mind itself. While meditation can be practiced anywhere, the ideal environment for formal sitting is characterized by low external stimulation and quiet comfort. For beginners, minimizing external distractions allows the mind to settle more easily, preventing the senses from being overwhelmed by noise or rapid movement. An ideal sound level is quite low, perhaps around 20 to 30 decibels, similar to a very quiet library or a gentle whisper, which is conducive to finding deep internal focus. Furthermore, the space should be kept at a neutral, pleasant temperature that is neither so cold as to cause shivering, nor so warm as to induce drowsiness. This attention to external conditions supports the majestic internal discipline, allowing the focus to remain primarily on the inner landscape. By intentionally creating a stable container, the practitioner honors the gravity of the practice and provides the mind with the gentle, perfect conditions necessary for its most profound work. The body scan is a core practice of mindfulness that involves systematically bringing quiet, non-judgmental attention to every part of the physical form. This powerful yet gentle technique, central to MBSR, typically begins with the toes and gradually sweeps the spotlight of awareness upward through the feet, legs, torso, arms, hands, and finally the face and head. The instruction is simply to notice any sensations present: warmth, coolness, tingling, pressure, or absence of feeling, without attempting to change or judge them. This practice profoundly enhances interoception, the sensing of the body's internal state, often revealing areas where unconscious tension is being held. By bathing these areas in non-judgmental, spacious awareness, the practice provides the necessary mental condition for the physical system to gently release its accumulated stress. It is a quiet, majestic internal exploration that integrates the physical body back into the field of conscious awareness, transforming physical discomfort into an object of quiet, patient inquiry. The positive feedback loop of meditation may involve the quiet regulation of dopamine pathways in the brain. Dopamine is a crucial neurotransmitter associated with motivation, pleasure, and reward, driving the majestic seeking and learning behaviors that are essential for survival. While often released in response to external stimuli like food or social interaction, the internal, self-soothing nature of meditation provides an intrinsic reward, which can lead to a healthy, sustained interest in the practice. Studies suggest that deep, focused states can modulate the availability of dopamine, leading to feelings of profound contentment and reducing the mind's relentless need for external stimulation and distraction. By providing a natural internal source of quiet satisfaction, meditation gently rewires the brain's reward system, shifting the motivation from anxious striving to calm, stable appreciation. This majestic, quiet regulation proves that the deepest source of fulfillment resides not outside, but within the disciplined, contented mind. Nichiren Buddhism uses a vocal, rhythmic meditation known as Gongyo, centered on the chanting of the Daimoku. This powerful, vibrant practice is a quiet declaration of the individual's inherent enlightened nature, often performed twice daily. The central mantra, or Daimoku, is the phrase Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, which roughly translates as devotion to the mystic law of the Lotus Sutra, representing the fundamental law of the universe. Unlike passive forms of sitting, this focused chanting involves a high degree of vocal and mental concentration, using the physical vibration of the sound to harmonize the inner life with the universal rhythm. The repetition of the sacred phrase serves as a single, powerful anchor, drawing the mind away from daily confusion and focusing it entirely on the profound potential within. This practice emphasizes the immediate, quiet transformation of ordinary suffering into joy, transforming the sound itself into a reliable path toward inner clarity and profound strength. Meditation quiets the reticular activating system, the brain's ancient network responsible for vigilance and alertness. The RAS is a magnificent quiet bundle of nerves located in the brainstem that acts as the ultimate filter, determining which sensory information is important enough to bring to conscious awareness, thereby regulating arousal and the sleep-wake cycle. When under chronic stress, the RAS can remain perpetually hyperactive, keeping the individual locked in a state of exhausting, low-level vigilance. By deliberately engaging in practices that reduce sensory input and calm the nervous system, such as focused breathing and maintaining a stable posture, The meditator sends signals of safety that gently deactivate this overactive warning system. The quiet stillness teaches the brain that it is safe to lower its guard, allowing the body to settle into deep rest. This deactivation frees the mind from its persistent, automatic scanning for threats, opening the door to profound tranquility and mental spaciousness. The tradition of Chan Buddhism developed in China around the 5th century, eventually branching into what is known today as Zen. The arrival of the Indian monk Bodhidharma, often credited with carrying the teachings to China, marked the blending of the profound Indian tradition of jhana, or concentration, with the established Chinese philosophical concepts of Taoism, particularly the emphasis on naturalness and effortless action. This synthesis produced the Chan school, which prioritized direct, intuitive spiritual realization over reliance on intellectual analysis or scriptural study. The core practice was, and remains, quiet, focused sitting, Zuochan, an enduring belief that enlightenment is not a distant goal, but an immediate potential revealed through the sheer clarity of the present moment. This unique lineage later traveled to Japan, where it became known by its Japanese pronunciation, Zen, a name that now globally represents the power of radical simplicity and direct awareness. The calming benefits of formal meditation practice extend far beyond the sitting session, influencing the individual's emotional baseline throughout the day. This phenomenon, known as the carryover effect, signifies the transformation of a temporary mental state into a permanent personality trait, shifting from simply being calm during meditation to being a more consistently calm person. After a period of dedicated practice, the mental clarity and lowered stress reactivity can persist for several hours, perhaps 90 minutes to 3 hours, or often for the entire half day until the next sitting. This residual effect is rooted in the subtle, yet enduring, re-regulation of the nervous system and the strengthened connections in the prefrontal cortex. The practice teaches the mind that non-reactivity is the natural default state, allowing the peaceful stability cultivated on the cushion to flow gracefully and reliably into the complex dynamics of daily life. Pranayama, the yogic discipline of breath control, is considered the necessary link between the physical body and the meditative mind. This powerful practice stems from the Sanskrit words prana, meaning life force or breath, and yama, meaning control or extension, signifying the deliberate management of the subtle energy that sustains life. Before the mind can settle into deep stillness, jhana, the practice recognizes that the body and the breath must first be quieted, following the principle that where the breath goes, the mind follows. Techniques such as alternate nostril breathing, nadi shodhana, and victorious breath, ujjayi, are used to purify the energetic channels and balance the nervous system, transforming chaos into serene order. By taking conscious command of the breath's rhythmic flowing power, the meditator gains the quiet, essential mastery over the body's internal environment, creating the perfect, stable foundation from which true, profound inner stillness can gracefully and reliably emerge. Consistent meditation practice is associated with improvements in fluid intelligence, the ability to solve novel problems independently of acquired knowledge. Fluid intelligence represents the magnificent, quiet capacity to reason, analyze new patterns, and think abstractly, and it is a cognitive skill highly dependent on the efficiency of the prefrontal cortex and the ability to sustain attention without distraction. By strengthening the attentional networks and reducing mental clutter, meditation frees up valuable cognitive resources that are typically consumed by worry and mind wandering. This enhanced mental spaciousness allows the quiet, perceptive part of the mind to approach challenges with greater clarity and flexibility, seeing solutions that were previously obscured by mental noise. The practice does not add facts or knowledge, but it majestically refines the fundamental engine of the mind, teaching it to operate with increased grace, efficiency, and profound, quiet insight when faced with unfamiliar situations. Zazen, the core sitting meditation practice of Zen, places profound importance on maintaining a dignified and upright posture. In Zen, the posture itself is considered the expression of enlightenment, a majestic statement of non-seeking and perfect presence. The spine must be straight, ensuring that the body is balanced and requiring minimal muscular effort, often accompanied by a slight, subtle forward tilt of the pelvis to aid stability. The hands are typically held in the cosmic mudra, forming an oval shape resting in the lap. Crucially, the eyes are often kept partially open, gently gazing downward onto the floor at a distance of about 3 feet, or approximately 1 meter, preventing the mind from falling into drowsiness, while also limiting external distraction. This quiet, poised physical form creates a powerful container for awareness, ensuring that the stillness is one of alert wakefulness rather than passive relaxation. During periods of deep concentration, meditators often experience intense physical sensations known as piti, or spiritual joy and rapture. These powerful, transient feelings are physical manifestations of a deeply collected and unified mind, often described as waves of electric energy, tingling, lightness, or profound inner excitement washing over the body. They are considered signs that the meditation is deepening and the mind has successfully transcended the 5 main hindrances to concentration. The path, however, requires the practitioner to observe even this profound and majestic joy with quiet equanimity, realizing that piti is also an impermanent phenomenon, not the ultimate goal itself. Clinging to the sensation can become a subtle obstacle, pulling the mind away from the true, quiet work of insight. The goal is to acknowledge the sheer, quiet magnificence of the experience without allowing it to dominate the attention, seeing the bliss simply as another passing wave on the deep ocean of awareness. Meditation training reduces emotional reactivity by weakening the immediate connection between a stimulus and the automatic emotional response. In the untrained mind, a trigger, such as a difficult email or a challenging interaction, is often followed instantaneously by a surge of anger, anxiety, or fear, a process sometimes called the emotional hijack. The quiet discipline of mindfulness creates a crucial mental space between the stimulus and the reaction, allowing the practitioner a moment to consciously choose a wise response, rather than being pulled into an automatic, reactive pattern. This increased gap is a hallmark of emotional regulation, born from the neuroplastic changes in the prefrontal cortex. The practice fosters a profound inner stability, recognizing the emotion as a transient object to be observed, not a command to be obeyed. It is a majestic, quiet realization that the emotional surge is a magnificent, powerful wave, but the self is the deep, unshakable ocean floor. Meditative states appear to influence the thalamus, the brain structure that acts as the gateway for sensory information. The thalamus is a crucial, egg-shaped relay center located deep within the brain, responsible for transmitting almost all sensory and motor signals to the cerebral cortex for processing. In deep states of meditation, studies suggest that the thalamus's function subtly changes. acting as a more selective filter for external information. This modulation helps explain why meditators report a profound subjective experience of detachment from surrounding noise and distraction. The external world is not shut out, but its urgency is majestically diminished. This neurological shift allows the attention to remain focused internally without being constantly pulled toward distracting sensory inputs. The thalamus, the ultimate gatekeeper, learns to distinguish noise from essential information, effectively reinforcing the inner quietude by turning down the volume of the outside world. Tantra traditions utilize specific meditative methods that actively engage with the body, senses, and desire as a direct path to liberation. Unlike some ascetic practices that seek to transcend or repress the physical, Tantra majestically views the body and all its sensations, including powerful desires and emotions, as a sacred field of energy and a perfect vehicle for profound realization. Rather than rejecting these forces, the practitioner learns to work with them, harnessing the natural flow of energy through practices that focus on the chakras, or energy centers, and complex visualizations of divine union. The meditative approach is a radical act of inclusion, transforming the ordinary experience of sensual pleasure and desire into a transcendent, awakened awareness. This powerful internal alchemy transforms the very elements that bind the ordinary mind into the fuel for liberation, recognizing the magnificent potential for awakening present in every aspect of embodied existence. Meditation and focused breathing are historically integrated into martial arts traditions to develop unwavering focus and stillness under pressure. Concepts like mushin, or no mind, derived from Zen, are central to the mastery of disciplines like Kendo and Aikido, where the quiet goal is to empty the mind of all conceptual thought, self-consciousness, and fear, allowing for instantaneous intuitive action. The practice often centers on anchoring the awareness in the hara, or tanden, an energy center located a few finger widths below the navel, establishing a powerful, unshakable physical and mental center of gravity. This intense training transforms the chaotic energy of fear and conflict into the clarity of the present moment. The physical discipline of martial arts becomes a moving meditation, showing that the ultimate power lies not in external force, but in the ability to maintain internal stillness, even when faced with immediate, acute stress or danger. Meditation consistently reduces basal and reactive levels of cortisol, the primary hormone responsible for the body's major stress response. Cortisol is in its power, mobilizing energy resources and temporarily suppressing systems like digestion and immunity when a perceived threat is present. However, chronic elevation of this hormone, often due to persistent mental stress, leads to serious health consequences. By interrupting the stress feedback loop, meditation calms the HPA axis, the signaling system that commands the release of cortisol. Studies often track a significant reduction in cortisol concentration in saliva and blood after a structured intervention lasting perhaps 8 to 12 weeks, or around 2 to 3 months, demonstrating a biological reversal of chronic stress. This profound, quiet re-regulation is evidence that the practice is not just a psychological balm, but a powerful physiological tool for restoring the body's innate ability to achieve deep, enduring, quiet homeostasis. Loving kindness meditation, or metta, appears to influence brain regions involved in empathy, warmth, and social connection. Neuroimaging studies suggest that when people systematically cultivate goodwill toward themselves and others, areas of the brain linked with emotional resonance and social perception become more engaged and finely tuned. Rather than changing how the world looks on the outside, this practice subtly reshapes how the heart and mind respond on the inside, making it easier to recognize the humanity in every face and every story. Over time, the deliberate repetition of kind wishes trains the nervous system to meet others with a softer gaze and a quieter, more accepting attitude. The mind gradually shifts from automatic judgment toward a majestic, gentle curiosity, discovering that connection is less about what we see and more about how we choose to see. The term monkey mind, or kapicitta, is an ancient descriptor for the relentless, restless, and chaotic nature of the untrained human intellect. This evocative, quiet image, found in both Buddhist and Hindu scriptures, perfectly captures the experience of constant mental agitation. The mind is seen as a chattering, perpetually dissatisfied monkey, leaping rapidly and indiscriminately from one thought branch to the next, rarely settling into stillness. Meditation is the practice designed to gently, patiently leash this wild, energetic force. By giving the monkey a single, simple, safe object to hold, the breath, the discipline gradually slows the frantic leaping, replacing chaotic movement with sustained focus. The goal is not to eliminate the monkey entirely, but to transform its boundless energy into productive, quiet attention. The practice provides the stability required to soothe this internal clamor, allowing the inherent wisdom and spaciousness of the mind to finally emerge. Intensive vipassana retreats are characterized by noble silence and extended daily periods of deep, silent sitting and walking practice. These powerful, structured immersions typically last for 10 days, or around 240 hours, involving a majestic commitment to noble silence, where practitioners refrain from all forms of verbal and written communication, reading, and eye contact with others. The schedule demands profound discipline, often involving up to 10 hours of formal sitting and walking meditation per day, creating a powerfully focused environment where the ordinary distractions of life are completely removed. This intense quietude forces the awareness inward, accelerating the process of vipassana, or insight, by making the subtle, transient nature of mental and physical phenomena inescapably apparent. The retreat is a quiet, majestic forge, where the mind is intensely refined, transforming the temporary effort into an enduring, unshakable state of peace and self-knowledge. Meditation helps dismantle habitual and addictive behaviors by strengthening awareness of the craving state before the compulsive reaction takes hold. Compulsive behaviors are often automatic responses to powerful, unpleasant urges, where the time between the craving and the action is nearly instantaneous. Mindfulness training introduces a crucial, quiet step: the recognition and observation of the urge as a transient, physical and mental phenomenon, not as an irresistible command. By sitting still and observing the subtle sensations of the craving, the tightness, the restlessness, the mental insistence, the meditator learns that the urge is impermanent and will gracefully dissolve if left unfueled. This practice breaks the ancient, automatic cycle of reaction, replacing it with conscious choice and freedom. It is a majestic, quiet realization that one does not have to be defined or commanded by the internal demands of craving, but can choose instead the steady, profound power of stillness. Equanimity, or upekkha, is the majestic, quiet cornerstone of advanced meditation, meaning non-reactive balance toward all experience. Upekkha is often misunderstood as indifference or emotional flatness, but it is, in truth, an active, profound engagement with reality that remains utterly untouched by the constant shifting of circumstances, whether pleasant or painful. It is the ability to maintain a steady, unshakable stability of mind when faced with the 8 worldly winds: gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, fame and disrepute. This quiet, magnificent balance is achieved by recognizing the fundamental impermanence of all things, refusing to cling to the good or push away the bad. The cultivation of equanimity frees the mind from the exhausting roller coaster of seeking and avoiding, establishing an unshakable inner refuge of profound peace. It is the majestic, quiet realization that true freedom resides not in controlling the waves, but in becoming the deep, still ocean itself. The sound of a singing bowl or gong is often used in practice to gently transition the mind and to provide a clear, auditory anchor. These traditional instruments produce a complex, multi-layered sound, rich in harmonic overtones, providing a powerful yet gentle point of focus for the awareness. The sound vibration is often centered around frequencies that are profoundly soothing, sometimes falling around 432 Hz, or about 432 cycles per second, which is believed by some to resonate naturally with the body. The quiet, lingering decay of the tone gives the mind a distinct, palpable object to follow until the very moment of silence is reached. At the start of a sitting, the sound acts as a summons to attention, and at the end, it is a graceful command to gently release the formal practice. The clear, resonant note becomes a quiet, temporary vessel, carrying the scattered attention into a state of unity and deep rest. The Buddhist practice distinguishes between loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, which is specifically the wish to alleviate suffering. Loving kindness is the cultivation of general goodwill and warm acceptance toward all beings, regardless of their condition. Compassion, or karuna, is the active, specific response that arises when one encounters pain, whether their own or another's, defined as the profound, gentle desire for that suffering to cease. Karuna is often described as the magnificent trembling of the heart when faced with the fragility of existence. This quiet differentiation is crucial because true compassion is cultivated, not merely felt. It is the deliberate strengthening of the inner resilience necessary to face difficulty without turning away in fear or despair. By actively practicing the wish for relief, the meditator transforms the intense, stressful concepts of suffering and pain into the quiet, courageous power of caring, a majestic force that seeks to heal and restore harmony. While open monitoring is a common style, some practices refine this further into receptive monitoring, focusing on effortless, pure awareness. Open monitoring is the majestic practice of consciously sustaining a broad field of attention, observing thoughts and sensations arise and pass in a deliberate, non-judgmental way. Receptive monitoring, particularly associated with advanced Tibetan systems like Dzogchen, takes this one step further by emphasizing a profound effortlessness, resting in the mind's natural state without the need for any monitoring or cognitive control. The mind is simply allowed to be, like space, that effortlessly contains everything within it. This practice requires a deep recognition of the mind's inherent luminosity and freedom, dissolving the need for continuous mental governance. It is a shift from actively observing the universe to simply resting as the boundless, fundamental awareness in which the universe unfolds. The highest meditative attainment in classical Buddhism is often considered Nirodha, the complete cessation of consciousness and feeling, also known as the cessation of perception and feeling. Nirodha is a profound state that transcends the 8 jhanas, or deep absorptions, representing the ultimate temporary realization of the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering. This state is reached when all subtle mental activity ceases and the continuous flow of consciousness, the very basis of ordinary experience, is momentarily interrupted. The experience requires a mind of immense stability and refinement, one that has perfected the art of letting go of every conceivable object of attention, including the sense of self. It is a powerful pinnacle of mental discipline, proving the mind's profound capacity for absolute, unconditioned peace beyond the confines of ordinary perception and felt reality. Right livelihood, or samyama ajiva, is the part of the Eightfold Path that ensures one's daily work supports the meditative practice. This profound ethical principle recognizes that the way one earns a living is not separate from the internal, quiet work of the mind. Engaging in work that causes direct or indirect harm to others, such as dealing in weapons, poisons, or intoxicating substances, will inevitably create internal conflict and turmoil, making the pursuit of deep peace nearly impossible. Conversely, choosing a quiet, ethical occupation that respects all life ensures that the mind is not burdened by moral regret or guilt, allowing the concentration cultivated on the cushion to flow naturally into the world. The practice teaches that the environment of one's daily profession must be consistent with the goal of inner liberation, transforming the ordinary working day into a supportive extension of the majestic path toward profound harmony. The average cycle of a human breath at rest, the central focus of meditation, is approximately 12 to 20 breaths per minute. This means that a full cycle of inhalation and exhalation takes around 3 to 5 seconds. During formal, calm meditation, however, the practitioner often naturally slows this rate down dramatically, sometimes achieving a tranquil pace of only 4 to 6 breaths per minute, meaning a breath cycle takes 10 to 15 seconds. This quiet, deliberate deceleration is a majestic physiological shift that immediately sends signals of profound safety through the vagus nerve, calming the sympathetic nervous system and reducing the heart rate. This metabolic quietude lowers the body's internal energy demands, fostering a deep, restorative state of rest that goes far beyond simple relaxation. The rhythmic, quiet flow of the breath becomes a reliable, magnificent mirror, reflecting the growing stillness within the disciplined, patient mind. Meditation profoundly improves heart rate variability, reflecting a healthier, more adaptable nervous system. Heart rate variability, or HRV, is the quiet, subtle, and constant variation in the time interval between successive heartbeats, and high HRV is a majestic biomarker of the body's resilience, physical fitness, and the healthy dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system. When a person is under chronic stress, the time between beats becomes highly regular and uniform, a low HRV indicating a stiff, reactive nervous system locked in a state of vigilance. By focusing on slow rhythmic breathing, meditation consciously activates the vagus nerve, which controls the parasympathetic system, restoring the heart's natural complex rhythm. This practice transforms the heart from a nervous engine into a collaborator with the mind, allowing the entire internal system to respond to life's inevitable stresses with greater flexibility, profound calm, and effortless grace. The four sublime states, or Brahma Viharas, are the four boundless attitudes cultivated through specific meditative practices. These majestic, quiet qualities are often referred to as the heavenly abodes, because they represent the pure, unconditioned heart-mind, free from personal attachment and malice. The practices involve systematically radiating loving kindness, metta, toward all beings, responding to suffering with compassion, karuna, feeling sympathetic joy, mudita, when others succeed, and maintaining unshakable equanimity, upekkha, in the face of all changing circumstances. The profound discipline is not about achieving these states spontaneously, but about deliberately creating the inner conditions for them to ripen. By cultivating these four internal seeds, the practitioner gradually transforms the mind from a narrow vessel of self-concern into a boundless, compassionate refuge of universal care and unshakable balance. Meditation significantly improves empathy and the ability to accurately take the perspective of others. Empathy involves two main components: cognitive empathy, the intellectual capacity to understand another person's state, and emotional empathy, the ability to feel what the other person is feeling. Practices like loving-kindness and compassion meditation actively target the neural circuits associated with both forms, often leading to increased activation in areas like the anterior insula and the mirror neuron system. By reducing self-referential thought and the constant chatter of the DMN, the mind creates spacious quietude, making it more sensitive and receptive to the subtle emotional signals emanating from others. This profound, quiet openness allows the practitioner to transcend the boundaries of the self and perceive the world from a place of majestic, gentle understanding, strengthening the bonds of human connection and reducing unnecessary conflict. Meditation heightens the activity and efficiency of the anterior cingulate cortex, the brain region responsible for error and conflict monitoring. The ACC is a majestic structure positioned around the front part of the corpus callosum, acting as the brain's quiet internal auditor, immediately signaling when there is a mismatch between a desired outcome and the actual result, such as noticing when the attention has drifted away from the breath. When the meditator is quietly sitting, the ACC detects the error of mind wandering and alerts the prefrontal cortex to initiate the corrective action of returning the focus. Consistent practice strengthens the functional connectivity of this region, meaning meditators are quicker and more adept at detecting subtle distractions and errors, both internal and external. This increased efficiency translates into a more focused, resilient attention span. The ACC is the sentinel, ensuring that the inner journey remains steadfast and dedicated to the chosen path of stillness. Short, quiet mindfulness poems, known as gathas, are used in many traditions to gently integrate awareness into ordinary daily activities. A gatha is typically a concise, evocative verse used as a quiet trigger for mindfulness, transforming a routine task from a distraction into a majestic, intentional practice. For instance, a person might silently recite a simple verse before opening a door, reminding themselves to be present and peaceful before entering the next moment. This technique, popularized by masters like Thich Nhat Hanh, ensures that the deep concentration cultivated during formal sitting is not compartmentalized, but flows seamlessly into the full fabric of life. By linking the mind to the body's simple actions, such as quietly washing dishes or slowly walking, The gatha acts as a gentle, portable anchor. It is the majestic, quiet art of infusing every transient moment with the light of profound, deliberate presence. A central realization sought through Vipassana meditation is anatta, the doctrine of non-self, or the absence of a permanent, unchanging core identity. This profound and majestic insight challenges the deeply ingrained human tendency to cling to a fixed, substantial self, or ego, as the ultimate source of reality. Through diligent, quiet observation of the mind and body, the practitioner sees that all experience, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions is a constantly flowing stream, a momentary collection of impermanent phenomena, khandhas, that arise and dissolve. The sense of an enduring I is realized to be a powerful, majestic illusion constructed by the mind, but lacking any substantial reality. The realization of anatta is not the annihilation of the self, but the quiet, liberating recognition that there is nothing permanent to protect or defend, allowing the mind to rest in boundless, unconditioned peace, free from the exhaustion of maintaining an illusory, fixed identity. The most traditional and often most potent time for formal meditation is the early morning, before the complexities of the day begin. This quiet, majestic window, sometimes referred to in Hindu traditions as Brahma Muhurta, or the Creator's Hour, begins roughly 90 minutes, or about an hour and a half, before sunrise, when the world is still deeply silent and the mind is naturally less cluttered by the day's events. Practicing at this time helps establish a powerful, calm intention for the day ahead. The primary alternative is the late evening, right before sleep, which serves a majestic function of clearing away the stresses and anxieties accumulated over the past hours, preparing the body and mind for profound rest. Both times offer a unique, quiet sanctity, recognizing that the first act of the day or the last act before sleep sets the tone for the quality of both wakefulness and rest. Vipassana meditation focuses specifically on the three characteristics of existence as the path to profound insight. The first characteristic is impermanence, anicca, the quiet, majestic realization that all conditioned phenomena, from thoughts to physical sensations, are constantly changing, arising, and passing away. The second is suffering, or dissatisfaction, dukkha, which arises from our refusal to accept this impermanence, desperately clinging to what is inevitably transient. The third is non-self, anatta, the realization that since everything is impermanent, there is no permanent, unchanging core to call I. Through the quiet, non-judgmental observation of the breath and physical sensations, the meditator gains direct, experiential knowledge of these three majestic truths. The repeated witnessing of this universal flux gradually dismantles the ancient habit of grasping and aversion, leading to a profound, quiet liberation from the bonds of ordinary conceptual reality. Maintaining periods of digital silence strongly supports meditation by reducing the pervasive mental cost of constant connectivity and alerts. The human mind is not designed to handle the constant, low-level vigilance demanded by persistent notifications, which constantly interrupt focus and activate the stress response, creating a perpetual state of readiness. Meditation is the deliberate counter-practice, and to succeed, it requires establishing a firm boundary against this digital noise. Placing the phone and other devices out of sight and reach, perhaps 3 feet away, or roughly 1 meter, during the sitting eliminates the subtle physical and mental anticipation of incoming information. This discipline transforms the sitting cushion into a magnificent, quiet sanctuary, allowing the dopamine-driven seeking cycle to gracefully subside. The temporary, deliberate secession from the digital world grants the mind the profound, essential quietude necessary to rediscover its own majestic, inherent focus and peace. Trataka, or focused gazing, is an ancient form of meditation that develops powerful concentration by fixing the eyes upon a single external object. The most common object is a softly burning candle flame, placed at eye level about 3 to 4 feet away, or approximately 1 meter. The practitioner gazes at the flame without blinking until tears gently begin to form, then closes the eyes to visualize the magnificent after-image in the darkness of the inner mind. This practice is believed to not only strengthen the eyes, but also to rapidly focus the scattered mental energy, forcing the attention to remain single-pointed and unwavering. By transforming the external, luminous object into an internal visualization, Trataka acts as a majestic bridge between the outer world of the senses and the deep, concentrated space of the mind. This discipline clears away both mental and visual clutter, enhancing the profound capacity for sustained, focused awareness. The practice of recollection of the Buddha, or Buddhanussati, involves quietly contemplating the noble qualities of the Enlightened One as a focus. This devotional form of meditation, a powerful antidote to anxiety and doubt, works by mentally bringing to mind the perfections of the Buddha, such as his profound wisdom, boundless compassion, perfect conduct, and unwavering teaching ability. By dwelling consistently on these pure, elevated characteristics, the meditator's own mind is gradually infused and influenced by the same qualities, raising the consciousness above the ordinary stream of negative or distracting thoughts. The contemplation serves as a powerful anchor, transforming the turbulent energies of the mind into a serene, inspired focus on ultimate potential. It is an act of aligning the inner self with the highest possible human ideal, providing a reliable and gentle path away from turmoil and toward deep reverence and peace. The modern field of contemplative science systematically uses neurological tools to study the effects of meditation and other inner practices. This field, born largely from the collaboration between Buddhist monastics and Western neuroscientists, seeks to bring the rigor of empirical research to the subjective realm of internal experience. Using advanced tools like fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, and EEG, electroencephalography, researchers can map the changes in brain structure, connectivity, and wave patterns that occur during and after deep meditation. This scientific commitment has provided irrefutable physical evidence for the benefits of the practice, moving meditation from a purely spiritual or philosophical pursuit into a recognized and measurable technology for human flourishing. This scientific inquiry validates the wisdom of ancient traditions, confirming that the persistent cultivation of the mind truly does reshape the physical architecture of the brain and enhance human potential. In deep states of concentration, some meditators experience a luminous internal object of consciousness known as a nimitta or sign. This majestic, quiet light often manifests spontaneously as the mind achieves profound stability and focus, sometimes appearing as a luminous dot, a white mist, or a brilliant geometric shape. The nimitta is considered an internal cognitive projection, a sign that the mind is transitioning from ordinary concentration upakara samadhi, toward the deep, absorbed states of jhana. The instructions caution the practitioner not to cling to the beauty or strangeness of the light, but to gently use the pure, luminous quality of the sign itself as the object of focus. This transforms the fleeting experience into the stable ground for deeper quietude. The nimitta acts as a final, majestic test, ensuring that the devotion is to the profound, unified state of awareness itself, and not to the temporary display of inner sensory beauty. The virtue of patience, or khanti, is an indispensable quality cultivated by meditation, transforming struggle into enduring resilience. Patience is the ability to remain steady and non-reactive when faced with difficulty, discomfort, or slow progress in practice, particularly the inevitable periods of dullness or restlessness. It is the gentle refusal to succumb to the urge to escape the present moment when it is unpleasant, instead accepting the difficulty with dignity and observing its transient nature. Every time the meditator returns their attention to the anchor, despite finding the moment boring or agitated, they are actively strengthening the muscle of khanti. This constant training teaches the mind that true relief is found not in running away, but in staying present with profound, unshakable courage. The practice reveals that patience is not passive waiting, but an active commitment to endure and to observe without aversion. The concept of beginner's mind, or shoshin, encourages the meditator to approach every sitting with fresh curiosity and openness. Shoshin is a quiet, profound term from Zen Buddhism, emphasizing the state of mind free from the expectations, assumptions, and conceptual limitations that accumulate with experience. An expert's mind can be burdened by past knowledge and judgment. I know how this sitting will go, which closes it off to new realizations. The beginner's mind, however, is empty, open, and receptive, ready to see the breath, the sound, or the sensation as if for the very first time. This gentle attitude is critical because reality is always shifting, and genuine insight requires this kind of radical moment-to-moment openness. By adopting shoshin, the practitioner avoids the trap of seeking a past, blissful experience, and rests instead in the magnificent, unpredictable quietude of the eternal now. Meditation practice helps regulate the immune system by reducing markers of inflammation throughout the body. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is now recognized as a driving force behind many serious diseases, from heart disease to depression, often triggered or exacerbated by persistent psychological stress and high cortisol levels. Scientific investigation has shown that regular meditative practice can suppress the activity of key genes and proteins involved in inflammatory pathways, such as the transcription factor NF-kappa B and the protein C reactive protein CRP. By calming the nervous system and rebalancing the HPA axis, meditation sends a quiet, persistent signal of safety to the immune system, reducing the need for constant systemic defense. This profound internal shift demonstrates that inner peace is not only psychological, but is a fundamental biological precondition for physical health and long-term vitality. The mala, or string of prayer beads, is often used in mantra meditation to quietly maintain focus and count repetitions. Traditionally, a full mala contains 108 beads, plus a larger guru bead or meru that marks the start and end of the cycle. During a practice known as japa, the meditator uses the thumb to gently pull each bead across the middle finger, while silently or softly repeating the chosen mantra, such as Om or a sacred phrase. This repetitive, tactile motion provides a third anchor for the mind, complementing the auditory anchor of the mantra and the internal quietude of the breath. The physical presence and steady rhythm of the beads transform the counting from a conceptual task into essential grounding experience. The mala is a tool guiding the wandering mind through the immense repetition required for the realization of deep, focused concentration. Meditation reveals the spaciousness of the mind, realizing that thoughts and emotions are transient clouds passing through a vast, quiet sky. The ordinary experience is often one of feeling compressed or overwhelmed by mental content, as if the mind is the thought. The practice of open monitoring gently points the awareness toward the fundamental, majestic nature of the mind itself, which is inherently spacious, luminous, and clear, like the sky. Thoughts and feelings, even powerful ones, are merely weather systems, passing through and dissolving without leaving any permanent mark upon the sky's boundless expanse. This realization of spaciousness is a profound relief, dissolving the stressful feeling of being trapped by the contents of consciousness. It is the majestic liberation of the mind from its own conceptual prisons, allowing it to rest in its natural state of profound, unshakable peace and freedom. Mindfulness practices have been formally integrated into modern psychotherapy approaches, such as dialectical behavior therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy. This clinical integration, born from the success of MBSR, signifies the arrival of ancient wisdom into evidence-based psychological treatment. DBT uses mindfulness techniques to help clients achieve distress tolerance and emotional regulation, teaching them to observe intense feelings without immediate destructive reaction. ICE utilizes mindfulness to foster psychological flexibility, encouraging clients to diffuse from powerful negative thoughts and commit to actions aligned with their deepest values. The core component shared across these modalities is the teaching of non-judgmental awareness, recognizing that one's thoughts and feelings are not facts to be acted upon, but transient events to be observed. This blend of clinical rigor and ancient quietude provides a powerful, reliable, majestic pathway toward healing and emotional resilience. To realize the long-term structural benefits of meditation, studies suggest a minimum practice frequency of at least 4 days per week. While the depth of the inner experience is important, the consistency of the commitment is the primary factor driving the profound neuroplastic changes in the brain. Practicing for shorter durations, perhaps 15 to 20 minutes, but maintaining a high frequency across the week, reinforces desired neural pathways of focus and non-reactivity more effectively than infrequent, lengthy sessions. Consistency is the majestic fuel for transformation, ensuring that the new circuits of calmness in the prefrontal cortex are continuously strengthened against the ancient, reactive wiring of the amygdala. This minimum frequency of roughly 60% of the week ensures that the gains made in stillness are preserved and built upon, allowing the discipline to blossom into a resilient, enduring trait of profound inner peace. And so, our journey through the profound world of meditation comes to a gentle close. We have traversed the intricate pathways of the mind, from the architectural shifts in the amygdala and the steady rhythm of the HPA axis, to the ancient wisdom held within the Pali Canon and the majestic simplicity of the Zazen posture. We have learned that the quiet act of returning the attention to the breath is not merely relaxing, but is a persistent, powerful reshaping of the self, transforming the monkey mind into the still, luminous sky of awareness. These facts, whether remembered or gently forgotten in the soft drift of rest, have shown that the deepest work is found in the stillness, that true resilience is born from non-reaction, and that the path to peace is always patiently waiting within. The stories of profound concentration, the subtle power of metta, and the majestic clarity of the jhanas now settle into the quiet fields of your subconscious. If you happen to still be awake, that's perfectly all right. You can simply lie back, let the music keep flowing in the background, and drift in and out of the story at your own pace. But if your eyes are heavy, let the stories of meditation and the gentle music carry you softly into rest. Sleep well. Good night.